Do you have conversations with someone that just brings you true joy, puts a smile on your face, makes you feel good? You walk away more inspired, more empowered, encouraged. That's our guest today. The conversation you're going to hear is transparent. It's vulnerable. She talks to individuals of all ages, all backgrounds, motivates them. She inspires them. She brings light to their darkness. Anyone that can be a successful news broadcaster in the sports world, anyone who can inspire and motivate athletes from high school to the professional world, I truly admire. I also really appreciate her entrepreneurial spirit. She is an author, best-selling author, I should say. She is a coach. She is a motivational speaker. So if you too are an entrepreneur, get your note-taking mechanism of choice because you're going to gain some amazing nuggets. One of the favorite lessons that you'll hear today is if you have something that you want to put out into the world, just put it out there, even if it's just for that one person. Remembering your why you're putting it out there is more important than any data, likes, numbers, follows. Just put it out there into the world. Let's jump into the conversation and get a little joy in our life today with Rachel Joy Baribeau on the GSD Factor podcast. On today's episode, I'm so excited to have Rachel Joy Baribeau. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I am good. I am so glad to do this with you after meeting you in Nashville, and so glad we finally got to do this.
Yes, absolutely. So, Rachel, tell everybody a little bit about your story.
Yeah. Woo. Okay. I was a sportscaster for 17 years, and I ascended. I'm not going to say quickly at all, but I ascended and broke a lot of ceilings, and I accomplished things for all the big girls out there and all the little girls, because you never should stop dreaming. And no matter what age you are, you can accomplish what you want. If you're still breathing, there's still time. I say that a lot. If you're still breathing, there's still time. I think somebody needs to hear that today. So I did that for 17 years. And about 8 years ago, I saw a problem in college athletics, and it just happened to start in college athletics. And we were in the midst of scandals and domestic violence and sexual violence. And I'm a do something girl. God made me a do something girl. And so I thought I could do something about it. And I did. And I created this curriculum. I laugh and say curriculum, but it was really a 2-page Google Doc. So do not curse the days of small beginnings. And so I thought I was going to go into high schools. A friend of mine who was Nick Saban's right-hand man for 23 years said, no, I'm going to get you into FSU. And so I was at FSU August 26, 2016. And here we are almost 8 years later. And I've worked with 80 colleges, many of them multiple times, the LAPD, Border Patrol, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the NFL, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, churches, halfway houses, prisons, high schools, K through 5. And I travel and speak now on mental health, good love for yourself and others, joy, also how to find what sets your soul on fire. I wrote a book last year and it became a bestseller called Relentless Joy. And then I also coach, and I'm a bonus mom and a fur mom too. So yeah, just
You
nothing going on.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, you are a GSD woman. You get shit done. Such a doer, which I think was how we were. So when we connected, it was like an immediate synergy, and you wear lots of hats. And you and I both love to wear our hats in lots of places, which is amazing. So Rachel, when you saw this need and you saw what was happening, at a college level, but also, again, age agnostic, talk to us about, when you saw that need and, where the I'm changing the narrative movement really started and what that's truly about. Because I think when we think about our GSD Factor attributes, of confidence, inquisitiveness, imagination, presence, resilience, and influential. The I'm changing the narrative movement really encompasses so many of those, but what you are really talking about too is you saw a need, you saw a solution, and now you're changing that and you're getting that shit done. And so let's really dive into that I'm changing the narrative movement, because I think it is so needed and so powerful for our generation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts honestly, and I always try to invite people into my story, no matter what platform I'm on, whether I'm doing a live on Instagram or doing my podcast, which I have a podcast called the Joystarters Podcast, and it's available wherever you get your podcast, or it's the book. I try to invite people into the story, and the story is I've been hearing this thing in my ear, and usually that's a prompt for me to teach on it or talk about it lately. The thing I've been hearing in my ear is no one's coming to fix it. No one's coming to fix it. No one's coming to fix it. And I think if you polled every great woman in the history of histories, right? If you polled Dame Daphne Sheldrick, which many people don't know her, I'm writing about her in my next book. She was she was a game warden's wife in Africa, and she saw baby elephants dying because of poaching and all these different things. Their mothers were being poached and the baby elephants were dying. She created the thing closest to a mother elephant's milk and has saved millions of elephants, and they have an elephant orphanage named on her. They made her a dame. Nobody's coming to fix it, right? Like nobody's coming to fix it. So I got to do something about it. I think about Harriet Tubman, another one of my sheroes. Like nobody's coming to help me. I got to go. Like I got to run. I got to go. And not only did she go and run, she went back for others. And I have this saying that says, when you get there, throw the rope back for somebody. And the lie that we tell ourselves, many of us, many women, I'm not there enough. I'm not educated enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not financially secure enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. I'm not on stable ground enough, healed enough to be able to help another woman or help another soul. That's bullcrap. You are meant to be able to throw the rope back for somebody. So what was in my ear 8 years ago and what's in my ear now is no one's coming to fix it. I was standing in my pantry the other day and it was like, all these labels and everything I put is all out of sorts with 4 kids, and I'm thinking, okay, and in my ears, nobody's coming to fix it, Rachel. Like, this is your life. This is your pantry. Fix it. Just fix it, And so I'm spending the weekend, part of my weekend, fixing a pantry. And so if you ask yourself that, if you hear that call, if you can write that down and apply that to different parts of your life, no one's coming to fix it. The great ones. And I'll say, and without ego, my idea was great. It has served. It has helped many people. And I created a movement from nothing, and that's the thing. There are many, many women out there and men who listen to this podcast that are on the verge of creating something, a passion project, a business, a side hustle, a legacy, something. And it may be in the people that you raise. It may be an actual thing. It may bring you money. It may not. But it's on the other side of fear. It's on the other side of, oh, well, somebody else will do that. Somebody else will fix it. No, I saw a problem and I went for it. And, originally the talk was, what makes your heart beat faster? What were you born for? If you think you were only born for sports, what a shame that is. And then my own experience with domestic violence. And over the years, it's branched out to queens. I believe inside of each one of us is a king, a queen, or royalty, to be inclusive with that last part. And so I branched out to queens. I branched out to law enforcement. I branched out to wherever there's a need, I'll go. And I started studying psychology and studying people and now it's, like I said, joy and good love for yourself and others and interpersonal relationships and funky junk, which is bitterness, trauma, anger, unforgiveness, abuse. Many of us are carrying it around. We're carrying weight we were never meant to carry, right? And so it's been beautiful. And then the next iteration of I'm Changing the Narrative is we are welcoming speakers into the movement and creating a bureau so that we can send out an army of speakers. Because guess what? It's not a thing of if we're going to die. We're all going to expire at some point, and I want this thing to live on beyond me.
I have goosebumps and I have so much energy and joy just from listening to you. And I hope that our listeners do too, because I think, we talk about, that component of that sub attribute of continuing to show up no matter what, right? Being able to learn something from everything, whether it's what to do or what not to do. And what I hope our listeners will hear today is, get your pens, get your iPads, and write some of these amazing nuggets down and re-listen to this podcast. Cause I think, you're imparting to us some amazing wisdom and excitement and joy. So talk to us a little bit about your Relentless Joy book that you released last year, and congratulations on being a bestseller.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Woo, what a process, man. Wow. You've written many books, and so you get it. It is a process. I've said this many, many times, said two things many times. I've had people say, well, you must get tired of doing, podcast or interviews. Somebody's asked me that when they were asking me to do a podcast. And I said, first of all, no, absolutely not. I prayed for this. I was on my hands and knees praying for this book to get put out in the world. Absolutely not. And then, the other thing I tell people, which is funny, is it would have been much easier if it was a nonfiction book, like if it was a fiction book. I take that by a fiction book, like about this mythical person named Rachel who had this life and this happened. But no, it was like my real life story of addiction, loss, overcoming sadness, losing both my parents, abuse, all these things. And so I just really laid my soul open and laid it bare in this book. And it was terrifying. I was truly terrified when it came out. But the amount of people and the feedback that I've gotten is life-changing. And, there was a time after I put it out, and I will tell everybody this again, here's a nugget for you. If you choose to ever publish a book or do something because you feel compelled to put it out in the world, don't get caught up in the numbers. Inevitably, it'll happen to all of us, but you got to bounce back out of it. I remember right after it came out, it was doing great, but it wasn't like bestseller numbers yet, and I had this moment where I shook my fist at God, and ashamed of myself to say that, what, God, I did all this work. I did this huge launch and I can't believe this. I mean, acting like a total toddler, and having this conversation with him. And it was I felt in my spirit him say to me, well, what did I ask you to write it for? I asked you to write it for one person, one soul. And as that came back into focus, I started not worrying. I started focusing on the one person, one soul, one book at a time. And 2 months later, out of the clear blue sky, got the news that it had become a bestseller. And so I just want to encourage anybody who's putting anything out there, please do not take your affirmation, your worth, your anything from the amount of likes on a social media post where the algorithm's jacking you up and not even showing you to anybody anyway. Start a newsletter. That's the other thing I'll tell people. If you're going to do something, start a newsletter, and don't get caught up in numbers, man. And know why you're putting it out there. And it's because you have a message that you want to share with the world.
We have so many entrepreneurs that listen to our podcast. And I think that if there was only a couple minutes that they could listen to, that's it, right? Because I think you as an entrepreneur, myself as an entrepreneur, we have these moments, we dream big, we manifest, we call forth, and we start going, and we do, and we put it out into the world. And then exactly to your point, we start to measure by the world standards of success.
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is, what we put out into the world is we're being very vulnerable. We're being very transparent.
Yep.
And, that's why I always get asked, why did you write your 3 books, almost 4th? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And part of my why is I wanted to have a legacy for my own tiny humans to see that I thought of something, I dreamed big, and I went out and did it.
Yeah.
But it's also, you never know whose one life you may have touched. And through that transformation, you may have changed their trajectory. And so I think that is such a beautiful reminder, because as you know, the entrepreneurial journey has its highs, it has its lows. And I think it's ever changing.
Yeah. It's funny too, and you probably got this. So right after the book came out, I had one of my best friends in the world. She messaged me or called me, and she was like, Rachel. And she said, this is actually really good. And she said, I mean, I thought, and you probably got this from your family or friends, the first one you wrote. She was like, of course I thought it was going to be good. You wrote it. I thought it was going to be good. She was like, but it was actually good, like really good. And I'm like, okay, I love you. So I'm going to take it the way you meant that and not the way that it feels like a backhanded compliment that you thought you didn't know what the heck I was going to put out there. But yeah, you put yourself out there and you're so vulnerable. And I will never, the moment that somebody's email, somebody's message to me, this changed me, I forgave my mom because of you, I went for it because of you. I got an email the other day from a woman that was like, every one of your emails, your book, I tell my daughters about you all the time. Like, you're the person that I aspire to be. And I'm like, oh my God, and so the moment that any of that becomes commonplace, like, ooh, or, no biggie, like I'm done. Like I'm done. I'm out. I'm checked out. I'm going to do something else because I don't want to ever, as my mom used to say, who's in heaven, I don't want to ever get too big for my britches where somebody's life change and somebody's life being changed as a direct result of my work becomes commonplace and becomes like, oh, just that. Yeah. I never want that.
So let's talk for a minute about your Joy Starters Club and what that entails and what that means, because I think, in this world, in this day and age, we need more joy and we need that confidence to be joyful. We need to be present in those joyful times.
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about, what your Joy Starter Club is like and what that experience is for people.
Yes. So another thing I would tell entrepreneurs to do, another big thing that's happening right now is subscriptions. Subscription clubs are huge. And this is not my smarts. This is other marketing people pouring into me. So subscription clubs are huge. And so about a year and a half ago, I was like, you know what? I want to start a subscription club and I want it to be about joy. And I created the word joy starter, which is somebody who notices joy, spreads joy, and is joy. And at the end of each chapter in the book, Relentless Joy, which you can grab at local bookstores, Amazon, wherever you shop for your books, there's a section called a Joy Start where I fought for it, where you take the lessons from that chapter and you apply them right there. You don't wait for the end of the book. So it's really part workbook, part memoir, part self-help, part, all these different things in this one book. So I said, okay, I'm going to start the Joy Starters Club. And what it is, first of all, it's free for the first 30 days. So there's no credit card required. Like you'd be a fool not to try it. It's free for 30 days. And what you get, I just decided from an entrepreneurial standpoint of having a value ladder of my different products, and you'll understand all of this and the entrepreneurs will understand this language. I wanted to give more than I take. And that's always been me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to offer this free for 30 days. When you opt in, you get inside of an app. And in that app is a course that I taught that's 5 weeks long, that's valued at $99. I just give it to you. I give you my first ebook, give it to you just because. And I could be selling that course, daily and making money. I just wanted to give it away. And so there's also a chat in there. And then when I do PDFs or downloads or anything that has value, I put it in there and we chat, we encourage each other. Then you get a couple of times a week, not every day, so it doesn't get annoying. You get texts from me, encouraging texts. We have a monthly challenge. And then the third Tuesday of each month, we have a free and open meeting. And so sometimes I'll coach and teach. Like last week, we brought on a gentleman we talked about the soul of money. Like, what's your hang up with money? Like, what are your beliefs about money? We talked about investing and what do you even do to get there if you're not ready to invest, if you're just living paycheck to paycheck. It was fantastic. So when I have these meetings and bring these either famous people on, coaches, people on, I let people interface with them. I don't ask the questions, they get to interface with them. So we do that every month. And then also you get a free quarterly gift should you choose to stay in. And it's the cost of a latte a month, $6.99. Like I just jam-packed value into it because I wanted to add value and I wanted to give people joy and I wanted to give people a place to belong that maybe don't belong anywhere else or having problems friends or family or whatever that may be. And so people can go to joystartersclub.com. That's all together, joystartersclub.com. And you sign up there, like I said, and you don't even have to put in a credit card. So, yeah.
Awesome. So I have to ask, because with your broadcasting background and sports and women and advocacy, I would love to hear your reporter, newscaster perspective on the amazing March Madness that we had, especially for women. And, what were the lessons and the takeaways that you took from this year's March Madness?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I just love that we as women superseded ratings for lots of men's events. I love that we showed people that women's sports are, attractive and viable and all of those things. I used to work in sports, and the old adage, oh, it's just women's sports, we're not going to talk about women's sports. I can't tell you the amount of producers and people that I've had like, oh, we're not going to put that in the rundown. We're not going to talk about that. I think it's fantastic. I'm thankful for Angel Reese. I'm thankful for Caitlin Clark. I'm thankful for all the coaches and the players and everybody, right, that was part of this March Madness, and for putting women on the map. I did see something the other day, and by the time this comes out, this will be interesting. It'll be a little bit past it, but I saw something the other day where Caitlin Clark was interviewed at her first WNBA stop, and the reporter was a dude and was super creepy, and and it was like, hey, and he was trying to be funny, but it came off as like super creepy, and it was like, hey, do that and I'll be nice to you. Like, and her face was like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, you'll be nice to me? Like, and you can't see my face through the podcast, but I am just mortified. Like, so I love it. I love that women like Caitlin Clark are showing no, I don't have to be nice to you.
Yes.
I don't have to be nice to you as a reporter, right? Like, yes, we want to promote kindness and joy, but I owe you nothing. I owe you nothing as a reporter. I don't have to play your game or be nice to you because you're a man, because you're interviewing me. So it's, what came out of it for me is like, I am woman, hear me roar. I'm like, rawr, it's very empowering this year. Absolutely.
It was. And I think, I have two tiny humans, a daughter and a son, and my daughter is very sports, leaning. And so to be able to give her additional sheroes and role models that she can look to and dream big and see the possibility, I think was really encouraging, and it was fantastic. And I think, we're still in this, she's still going to see a lot of firsts in her life, and that's okay. But I think that she's continuing to see the possibility, and she's continuing. And I really do love the idea around girls and their confidence, especially in their, in their appearances and things like that. Shout out to Dove for some of their recent commercials, because I think as a mom and a mom of a daughter, it's really important. And I think that we're just continuing to see a lot of momentum and a lot of movement in this. Yes. And I think that that's really special.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. I've been many shout outs to Dove. Shout outs to Dove.
So, all right, Rachel, what would be one of those lasting nuggets that you would want to lay onto our GSD Factor listeners today?
Yeah, so it's actually twofold. It's also how you stay in touch with everything that we're doing, but it's something for you and for your family. We created a document. By the time this airs, it will have passed, but May is Mental Health Month, Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we I'm Changing the Narrative have created a document called the Mental Health Battle Plan. So you just go to mentalhealthbattleplan.com, you enter in your email, and it'll provide you with a document that you need to sit down with everybody in your family, teenage kids, I should say, adults, and talk about your mental health battle plan. Why do we have a plan for when there's a fire alarm? There's a plan for a tornado. There's a plan for your financial future. There's a plan for the game, but there's not a plan for when we hit the skids mentally. And so, so many people, including people close to me, one lady, precious soul, who serves in our movement, she lost her son about a year ago. And he took his life, and she's, there's things that she's teaching on, things I wish I knew, right? And so if you go to Mental Health Battle Plan, download that document. It talks about conversations you can have with yourself and with others, people you can reach out to, so that you go ahead and have a plan for when we have a dark night of the soul. And I will just say this, I'm a really happy person, but in 2019, the trigger warning, I had lost my mom and then was going to lose my house. And I had a night where I had what I call a dark night of the soul, where I thought of taking myself out of this world. I had never thought that before. It was a confluence of several events, the perfect storm of crap, as I like to call it. And that's what happened. And so if you say, not me, that wouldn't happen to me, not my kids, please be on the offensive. Talk to your kids about it. Talk to people in your office about it. And be willing to, here's another nugget, be willing to be a person who reaches in for people instead of expecting people to reach out. There's that old adage, I think Desmond Tutu said it, I believe, where it said, we've got to stop looking at people that fell in the river. We got to go upstream and see why they fell in the first place, right? And so I think it's just so important in today's day and age where suicide is the second leading cause of death for college athletes. And it's pervasive through kids, through adults. And we've never seen anything like we've seen today, that it's so important for people to go ahead and develop their mental health battle plan.
What I think is one of the important things you said there is we have plans, right? We have plans for fire or tornado. We have, end of life plans, or, hey, this is what happens after. But that mental health plan is something that I think has been such a glaring gap. And I thank you and celebrate the fact that you're advocating this, because I think it's so important. Final question. We have been asking all of our podcast guests this year, what are you powerfully choosing in 2024, Rachel?
Peace. Peace. I'm a naturally anxious person. I am given to being frazzled. I battle anxiety. I have a lot going on. I was a single woman with a dog, and then I married a man with 4 kids, and they're 4 teenagers. So my life is drastically different, and I run a couple of businesses, and I just have a lot going on. And if I am not proactively just being as passionate as I can be about choosing peace, I will make war in my own soul. And it's not anybody else. I will let things bother me. I will hang on to them. I will ruminate. I will stress. I will get myself into a tizzy. And so I regularly ask myself, does this matter? Like, is this going to matter in 5 days, 5 years, 5 weeks? But also, if this can wait till tomorrow, can it wait? Like, can I prioritize a long shower, or sitting in my garden, or taking a 20-minute walk at lunch? Is this something that's really a catastrophe, or is it a man-made catastrophe in my own soul? And so that's really not for, when you apply that, that's for you. That's not for everybody else, because the whole rest of the world can war, and we see war all over the world and all these things going on. But I have to choose peace in my soul, or I offer nothing valuable to this world.
That's such a good one, and one we haven't had this season. So I absolutely love that. Rachel, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. We hope that you have taken some joy with you. We hope that you have taken some amazing nuggets and wisdom, and we hope that this really has spoken to your souls as well. And thank you, Rachel, for all that you're doing in this world to continue to shine beautiful, bright light and joy to all those around you. And GSD Factor listeners, don't forget to get shit done.
Thanks for listening to the GSD Factor podcast. If you liked this episode, please rate and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, where you can also find previous episodes. Let's also connect on LinkedIn and Instagram. If you're looking for more information on the GSD Factor, visit us at gsdfactor.com. And always remember to GSD. Get shit done.